There is a moment in every life when you decide to rise, to stand taller than your fear, to speak louder than your doubt, to chase the vision that sets your soul on fire. This is that moment. And here, we walk it together with stories that awaken, voices that inspire, and truths that set you free. This is Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald, where hope has a voice, and that voice is yours. And welcome to the show, everybody. My name is Kevin, but I think you know that. Rochelle is off today, and she'll be back tomorrow, as always. And we got a great show for you today. And, you know, it's kind of like when I do this show, sometimes it ends up being a theme for the day. And today's theme seems to be resilience. And we have a young gentleman here who's written a book. He's got a clothing line, and he's got a story to tell all around that. So, Matt, pronounce your last name for me again because I forgot already.
It's Mizerek.
Mizerek, got it. So, Matt Mizerek is here, and Matt, I would love for you to tell our audience a little bit more about your story, specifically your growing up years and all the things that you went through in life, and culminating at the tender age of 33, something highly unusual happened to you. So tell us a little bit about yourself and your story.
Sure. Well, thank you for having me here. It's great.
Thank you so much for coming. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. I grew up in a kind of manipulative, abusive household, physically, emotionally. I hate to say it, it was bad. I think afterwards I more realized it, right? But I was a smart kid and everything. I got really good grades and things, and even towards high school, I was accepted to Pratt Institute in Brooklyn for illustration. I was accepted into Rhode Island School of Design. All with full scholarships. By 16, I was taking actually classes in math outside of the regular school system. I think sorry about that.
It's okay. We're good.
All right. So it was just weird. I was also in chorus classes that I excelled, and excelled in music. I had a small band that I played pop punk and like ska in, and then I went to Brooklyn into Pratt Institute in 2001 or in 2002, shortly after 9/11. And the environment then, like the fear and everything around, was very similar to now. There was a lot of violence. I had a couple of guns, put in my face. You can read my book. Some of that's in there. A lot of, I had to deal drugs. I helped sell fake licenses, all sorts of things, to get through that time. I ended up dropping out of there and leaving. Definitely, it took a toll. There was a lot of trauma involved there. But I kind of went back into the household that was very vicious to me, into those arms, right? I was I was on medications for kind of all sorts of projected psychiatric things a little bit before college, and then definitely this kind of like sealed the deal, right? In my parents' eyes, and so I was put on a lot of things after that. Even though in my eyes I just excelled at kind of a lot of stuff, and I then had a traumatic sort of environment around me, and I just kind of it was what it is. I kind of regained schooling and graduated actually magna cum laude at University of Hartford. I went into a marketing career. I ended up having 2 boys and a house in Connecticut, and but honestly, I married into a similar situation from like, my parents, right? We were kind of very similar. This happens a lot to people, right?
Yep. Yep.
Um, so, it's crazy how the original stories and kind of the belittlement and medications kind of kept snowballing and being gaslit upon me, and the parental situation was just not helpful. Very parents that should have never been married in the first place. Very just constant pulling apart, right? All throughout. Yeah, so at 33, my family and we were at a pumpkin patch sort of environment, and we were pulling. I was backing the car out, and I turned my head to make sure I didn't bean any kids behind me, and I just got sucked out of my body. I experienced my first stroke at that point. At the time, I weighed about 275 pounds. I was on about 7 different psychiatric medications that were unnecessary, that led into thyroid disease, some liver, cirrhosis in my liver. I was heavily drinking too to almost counteract all of this. It was just a terrible situation. The experience I felt at that time was an out of body experience. It kind of pulled me out behind. At first, it started with like a tunnel vision sort of scene of reality, and then it went beyond the back of my own head and out the back of the car window, and very far out. And it seemed almost as if time stood still, and it was very dark, but there was no feeling, none at all. There was no sounds, no feeling, except maybe that little pinpoint of light, which some people in the past have said that might be a heaven sort of thing. In my recollection, it was reality. And it was very, distant. I go through this in my book. I try to explain this experience as best I can. It's very bizarre. Like I call it the void. It's almost a place that I sometimes feel in, depressive states of mind, that darkness, right? And I think people can relate to that. But it was very interesting. I found out I managed somehow stretched beyond belief in my mind, and to pull the car over at that point, and it was weird. I don't know, like somehow my foot felt a million miles away from my brain, right? Just to like slide it off the side of the kind of area, right? But then at that moment, I was in that space, I guess, for about 45 minutes. And at that time, it's now my ex-wife at the time, and my 2 kids are in the back. She kind of, I kind of think I gurgled like, I'll be all right, like just give me a moment. And she kind of just says, Dad's having a moment. And the hardest part, I actually kind of came back into reality about 45 minutes later, and I fell out of the car and I vomited it everywhere. I couldn't stop. It was like a jolt back into feeling. Very strange. At that time, my ex-wife, we ended up getting a bucket from like a fishing bucket for bait out of a gas station, and I continued to vomit, and I felt a very vertigo sense of feeling, very upside down all the time, and I crawled into the passenger seat when that happened. We went home. My ex-wife called my parents, and they came over, but it was all such a toxic environment. I kind of stumbled and crawled inside, and I said, I'll just walk this off. And nobody did anything really. No one, forced me to go to any hospitals or anything. I actually went to work the next day. And I think it was that afternoon or the next day, I felt the same sort of feeling. I like getting pulled out of my mind, basically, right
Uh-huh.
reality. And that was the second stroke. It was because the first one never healed. And later, at that point, I went to get an MRI. The next morning, a doctor said, maybe we should get this checked out. And it was, the doctor at the MRI pulled me out of the, chamber. And he said, you had a wheelchair, and he goes, you have to get to the hospital right away. You have two massive strokes in your brain. And I was, okay enough. I was kind of like limping, walking around. But it was, I don't know. I was almost shocked to have that, like, be identified as that, in imaging, I guess, right, too, because I didn't even know what I experienced. So then I spent about 11 days in the hospital, 6 of which in the neuro ICU. And, I kind of did a little walking rehab, stuff like that. But honestly, most of it was like a vertigo, upside down, nauseous feeling. I was very thankful that my strength that was in my legs was weakened for a long time. But I walked and walked and walked. And for years, I really worked on that strength and everything. I'm thankful I have it today, right? It gets me around. After that moment, that experience really, in that void, I had this like internal monologue that really just, whether it was God, whether it was whatever, I don't even know, right? It was basically like, wake up, right? Wake up, like, to the reality of the situation. There's all these preconceived notions that you have about yourself, right? Like all this, like, that led you down this dark, rocky path and everything. Like, that's not who you were born to be, really, right? Like, you come out, my belief now, especially after that, is you come out of the womb and everything, and you're, everything's influenced upon you, right? The world as you see it, and how it possibly sees you, right? And from your own perspective, and that really, I kind of saw all of this from a different point of view, right? And so afterwards, I worked on my walking. I got off all the medications myself. I sought counseling from other third party, other doctors, right? And they were like, you're on an ungodly amount of medications. So I asked them about half-lives of medications. I did all my research about cutting things down and took, some of their advice, right? And then, but I went through massive withdrawal for years to get off of all that. But as what's the overall result is, I mean, I progressed in my career. I still had these two sons. I ended up, doing like half marathon sort of things with my kids and everything. And I worked hard at it. And, it was a, definitely a revelation in itself of the experience, but then also seeing that all those medications and their effects and all that duress and everything really culminated into that experience. So it was, very insane.
Well, what's interesting about everything that you're talking about is that, first of all, a lot of those medications, and they do require a great deal of withdrawals because it makes it really difficult for you. But so I'm glad at this point. I'm glad that you're all better. But I got to ask you, because it sounds to me like you almost had what we would call a near-death experience.
Yeah, exactly. That I would, yes.
And so you actually left your body, and you were in kind of you're in the in between your body and this reality and the other reality that's there. Would you
Yeah,
say that's true?
yeah. And so it's very interesting that I've explained actually the story to some kind of entrepreneurial coaches that have helped me along the way, right? Recently with my
Yeah.
endeavors. And one of this woman in particular, she asked me, do you feel more kind of connected or in tune with things since then? And I explained to you how I kind of excelled at certain, school and things like that. And I do. I feel it's very interesting that experience kind of pulled me out of that 3D realm, but then back in it now, I almost feel very, I don't know. I explain it sometimes vibrating through walls sort of, feelings, right? It's interesting. I don't know.
Well, and no, and I get it because I've done a lot of studying about near-death experiences and what people go through and stuff. And when we come back from this break, I want to talk to you about your mission and that all of the things that you went through when you were a kid and up until when you were 33, they were all, I believe, designed to be the man that you are today. And I would love to talk to you about that and the things that you are now acting on to really help yourself and all the people around you, because the things that happen to you will have a ripple effect for your kids and everybody else.
Yep.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
Perfect. We'll be right back right after this quick. It's only 45 seconds. Stay where you are. Here is another point to ponder by Positive Talk Radio. The world is full of people who would die for someone they love. But what about living for them? Waking up early to take care of your health. Letting go of the habits that steal your years. Choosing rest instead of running yourself empty. The truth is, your family doesn't want a hero who dies for them. They want a parent who stays. A friend who grows old with them. A soul who chooses life every single day. Don't just die for love. Live for it. And welcome back to Positive Talk. My name is Kevin McDonald, and we have Matt Mizerek, right? Yeah?
Mizerek.
Perfect.
Yeah. That was a good commercial, by the way. It was good.
Well, thank you, because what I do is I do these points to ponder about things that we need to look at in our life as we go forward with things. And I would submit to you that your journey, and you're right, I believe that when you were born great. And then your entire life, you have people telling you ain't so great. And you're having to deal with all the things. And we use self-medication, and sometimes it's other it's prescriptions and therapists and all that kind of good stuff. But at the end of the day, you had what I have become to know as a near-death experience, and that changed your perspective on who you are and what life is, and how you can interact with people in a really dynamic way. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, definitely, 100%.
And so how has that affected your relationship with other people and your parents and your wife, or maybe your ex-wife, or all of that kind of stuff?
Not good. Yeah, well, you know what? The truth very much splits the tides, or whatever. I don't know what phrases those are, right? Yeah, definitely. You see the people that come to your side, and you see the people that don't, right? And it's, that's really what I've learned. And in that regard, yeah, I would say the people that I felt I grew up, closest to me, proximity, time spent wise, when, everything, kind of comes out, or, even entrepreneurial endeavors, right, to make change. I would say, honestly, I've been helped more by complete strangers in the last year than anybody else. So
can I tell you why that is?
Why?
Because when you went through all of the things you went through, and you went through the strokes and the near-death experience, and going into the void, leaving your body, and then coming back, which can be really a nauseating experience when you come back, as you found out.
Yep.
But you're resonating at a different level now. Your energy and your vibrational level has changed, and this is quantum physics. This isn't a joke and stuff. This
No,
is
no,
this
no,
is
no, no.
real stuff.
I'm smiling just because, like, I never really, honestly, in my life, I never really believed in that sort of stuff,
I
right?
know you didn't.
And then honestly, lately, I feel it. I do more research on that, and I feel it's true, right?
Well, and I can tell you that I believe it to be true too, because when I went through what I would call my bad country music song period, and did all of the things that and studied about spirituality and vibration and energy and what Einstein talked about and Tesla talked about and all of these folks that had a clue. um, Vibration and energy is real, and so what happens is you tend to attract people who vibrate at your level, and the people that don't anymore, which if you had a difficult childhood, it's because they were, and God love them and bless them and let them go, because they were resonating at a lower level. And so now the people that you're entering into your life and the work that you're beginning and the book that you wrote and all the things that you're doing are because you're vibrating at a different level. Does that make any sense at all?
It does, but I smile because it has been a journey, sort of, right? Kind of
That's
realize.
what life is. It's
Oh,
a journey,
right.
and you learn for everything that you learned when you were younger, you can now apply
Yep.
for yourself.
Yeah.
And the changes are really are apparent in you, aren't they?
Yeah. Like, I have to admit, during that period right before my strokes and everything, I gave up. It was too much. That sort of environment, kind of nonstop. I was okay with dying, and so yeah, that perspective change. Everything's different. It's just 100% gratitude all the time. Really, and then trying to make the most of every minute, right? Just like I smiling because your commercial there, because I do wake up when the sun rises. I do, several miles of walking or jogging in the morning. I try to do my, yoga in the morning, sort of stretching out just to make sure I'm ready. I don't even touch a phone for an hour. It'd be same before bed sort of thing, right? That was never me before. I said I was, 275 pounds, drinking every day, all these medications that were killing me, all the environment sort of. And it was, I realized that when I kind of came back, it was while I'm here in this 3D realm, right? I want to see what my vessel can do, right? So, I'm not going to stop until I can kind of explore different options in my mind, right? Different things that I want to, explore on this planet, right? So it's the lust for life. You regain it 100%.
Well, yeah, because you were there in the other dimension, or you had left your body, and it's important. And I don't know this, and you can tell me, Matt, whether I need to be on medication or not, unlike where you were at. But I think that you had an epiphany when
Oh,
you were out of your body. You had an epiphany about what life is, and I look at them like your spirit guides, and the folks that are around you were saying, "Okay, Matt, here's the deal. We gave you this challenge because it's time for you, because you're very important to what the world has, and it's very important that you change, and they gave you the opportunity to do that, and now you're seizing the day." Does that make sense?
oh yeah. No, yeah. That's why 100%. We're on the same page.
Well, and that happens to all of us if we allow it to happen, but a lot of people don't even think that that's even a possibility.
Yes, 100%. I feel that way too, and I've even had these conversations in this journey, right, in the past year or so. I've had friends just say, I don't want to know what, you know, I don't want to remember certain things. I don't want to go down that road. And I'm like, it's, you know, we can remain friends. It's okay. I don't, you know, you don't have to, but you know, I see things in potential now in people too. Right. Especially that's, I mean, you know, that's who I am. That's, you know, what I relate to. Right. Like, but yeah, people that, you know, seem like they want to do more. They gave up things that they had pride in once before. Right.
Yep.
And so, you know, it does make me sad not to, you know, see people doing that. And that's why I try to help out where I can, right? Bring that spark back a little bit, you know, I don't know, talk to people, give them, you know, direct conversation without a phone or whatever for a half an hour just to see, learn about their lives. And, you know, cause I don't know, I just don't see things any other way. It's, you know, that's who we are. We're trying to help each other on our own journeys. Right. So.
Has the people that knew you before the strokes and stuff, has anybody come to you and say, boy, Matt, have you changed?
Yeah. Yeah, a few maybe, you know, I think most more indirectly, right? Um, and yeah, I've honestly, yeah, I had to leave. That's what I was saying, like 95% of those sort of people to kind of progress, you know, not, I wouldn't even say it's progress. You know, I hate even using that term comparatively. It's just to be who I am, right? And do my art again, start up, right? Just do what I want. So,
Well, seeing, and I don't know if you've noticed, but that's, you know, why we're here. Is
exactly.
we're here to enjoy life. This is a grand experiment. It's a grand adventure. And if you allow other people to dictate how you're going to live and what you're going to do and who you're going to be, then you aren't living your own life to its best potential, which is why you came here in the first place, in my opinion.
100%. And what you know, what I realized too throughout this, and you know, it's definitely a message I want to share. There's so many people on the planet. You know, it's natural course of life to grow up in small sort of bubbled environments, right? But honestly, the longer you stay in those, the more detrimental when, you know, all those worlds collide. They will eventually. You know, so I encourage everyone to kind of, yeah, get out there, be who they, you know, are themselves, right? And there's just so many people, and like you said earlier, the law of attraction, you gravitate towards the people that are the same as you or similar, right? So
Well, and there's a real it's a real thing, because people that don't resonate with you at the same level that you do, there is there's a lack of attraction there. It's not like, yeah, well, you know, I don't, you know, but it's people that resonate with you, and they're drawn to you and you are drawn to them,
yeah,
and that's the thing that helps you improve and to continue to live the life that you choose to live, because we were all born great, and a lot of us don't recognize that. I'm glad. So I got to ask you, now that you are where you are now, and you've got the clothing line we're going to talk about, you've got the book we're going to talk about, you've got the nonprofit we're going to talk about, you're doing all these really cool things.
yeah.
And where do you think, when did you decide that this was going to be your course after the strokes and stuff? Was it a gradual thing, or was it like you woke up one day and said, wow, I feel like doing something different?
Yeah. The Since the strokes, it was more of just recovery and then finding, you know, almost getting to a point in my mind and body when I was ready, you know, to like you said, like let the ideas come to me, right? Where, you know, it is that timing too when things are right? And so, you know, I shared earlier that a lot of this period of time, right, is reminiscent of when my time in like Brooklyn and seeing that violence, seeing that hate and everything, and then also really, in the past, few years, still hearing that the terrible kind of influences around me, right? From my own, like, still, my parents are very much alive, the family environment. And I just was kind of like, I I'm old enough now that I very much understand that we're kind of all the same underneath, right? We're all going through our journeys, and that I want to give back. I want to help. I have two sons, and I coach basketball and all those things, and like I like to help those younger generations, obviously find, or any generation, right? Find that clarity a little bit. And then it's not teaching as much as it is, it's that coaching mentality, right? It's putting the bumpers on, letting them figure it out, but right. So like, and what's funny is in this journey too, I've had great mentors in the past year, sending me tons of emails, tons of meetings, things like that, and I appreciate it too, because I understand that I'm in those bumpers too, right? And we all are. We just keep going, and that's the point of getting out, having these conversations, right? And so yeah, really more recently, like I think it was more like last November or so, I started getting really back into the art things for myself, right? The artistic spirit, venting through some of this process, right? Yeah, I think that's what I did my whole life. And so I was very inspired by, the kind of turmoil that the modern society has been in, and I started painting and picking that back up, and I really want to help people more in the art field. I feel like now is a changing of times. We have all this emotion coming out, right? A lot of artists, right? They want to find their ways to be who they are, right, too. And that's where I went to school originally for illustration, and so like I started the nonprofit first, and it's just volunteering, me going around, right, to help people. And I started going back to originally the Greenpoint Gallery in Brooklyn, where the man there, really honestly, I remember him from when I was a kid. That's why I went there. He is very all inclusive for people, helps people. One of my greatest inspirations. And so then it progressed into where I could else take this and spread this.
We need to take our halftime break, and when we come back, I'm Matt. I'm going to tell you, and I think your intuitive capabilities of what's really important have changed, and they're continuing to grow because of what you are interested in doing now versus what maybe you did before. And I want to talk about that a little bit, because you are starting to figure out that you can live the best life you want to live and do anything that you choose to do, and you're in the process of doing it. So we'll be right back. Stay with us, everybody.
You're listening to Brushwood Media Network, the best in syndicated talk, news, and entertainment shows.
Are you looking for your daily dose of inspiration? Stay connected to all your favorite shows, music, and news with the Brushwood Media Network app. From Positive Talk Radio to Greatest Vibes Unplugged and so many more uplifting voices around the world, everything you need is right in one place. It's easy to use, too. Always available and designed to keep you inspired 24 hours a day. Go to brushwoodmedianetwork.com and download the app, and you will always have Brushwood Media available on your smartphone. Download it now and make inspiration and music and conversation part of your everyday. And welcome back to Positive Talk. My name is Kevin McDonald. That's right. That's me. And Matt Mizerek, Mrs. something or other, is with us. Matt Mizerek. And by the way, if you go to his website, I love builtforbetterapparel.com. Is that the one website that you have, or do you have another one?
That is the only one that's up right now. I'm honestly trying to get my art one back up. I'm very much in between things right now. So,
Well, I hope that, and by the way, he's also got the book out, which is Revelations Through Resilience. I love that. 15 life-changing realizations from surviving 2 strokes at the age of 33. I got to tell you, you are on the path to doing some great things. Do you recognize that, or are you just having a good time?
I do only once in a while. I was actually talking about this with somebody else the other day. It only hits every, I don't know, maybe for 10 minutes, like once a week. I feel like I can relax and I go, wow, I'm doing what, really what I wanted to do my whole life. That's, really just, influence through creativity and, just be positive and just, that's all I ever wanted to do. So,
and through the course of your life and the experiences that you've had, and you've risen above them and gotten through them, so now you are on the path that you originally were supposed to be on. But I got to tell you, there's a thing about that. The timing for everyone's life is according to that individual's life. It has nothing to do with anybody else. It has to do with what works for you when. And you said it earlier, when the timing was right, you were able to do some of these things, and you've just progressed through that period of time. And I think the near-death experience helped, because that told you, if nothing else, that told you that there's more there than what we know is there. Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%. Yep.
And so since there's more there, you know that you're not your body. You are the energy and your consciousness and your soul around that, so that because for a period of time you were out of your body and you were still thinking and knowing where you were at, and you had that consciousness, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So that changes everything. Because now it's not a matter of, this ain't just it. This ain't all there is. There's a lot more there. And then I would not be a bit surprised if some people on the other side talked to you when you were over there, but you may have either forgotten it, or they left an impression in your mind that you can now recall that wasn't there before.
Yeah, no. In that, I mentioned earlier, there was like an inner monologue, God, whatever. I don't even try to explain it. I take it for what it is, and it whatever that was, I heard it loud and clear. But it was a weird time, and it felt infinitely long yet very short at the same time. And yes, in that environment, it was voices from all over, right? Like it, kind of. I mean, not whatever voice. I don't know how to explain it.
Well, because on the other side, and I've done quite a little bit of research on this, on the other side, you don't have a body. So you don't have a vocal cords, but everything is through telepathy. And so it's all about communicating through the energy that we have. Do you ever hear of what a transducer is?
Remind me.
A transit, my mechanic, my diesel mechanic son, because I've talked about, being able to communicate and with the dead people, as a matter of fact, or with mediums and other folks like that. And he said, Dad, all you had to do was say, we have a transducer in our mind. What a transducer is it translates, like as an example, words to energy and vibration, because music is nothing more than a vibration. And so is art in many ways. It is nothing more than a vibration. So you translate the from a real, like, words into into vibration, and then there's a transducer on the other side. That's how your car radio works. Did you ever wonder why you can hear the radio station, but there is no wires attached to the radio station? It's because there's a transducer in your radio that is transferring the vibration that is going through the air into the music, and it plays in your car. That's as simple as I can make it. Does that make sense?
Yep. I tried to, I think I said it as well as that, right, to my own kids one day, and I was like, it's crazy.
Well, but the thing is it's not only is it crazy, but it's real.
It is. Yep.
And so there are people that are going to say, "Oh no, Matt, none of that is true. None of that is real." Well, that's up to them, but because you've experienced it,
Yeah.
and so you know yourself, and quite frankly, it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks.
No, it doesn't.
And as long as you follow the being kind and being loving and being thoughtful and those things, which is our natural state of being, isn't it?
I think so. Yeah, I honestly, it's all along these lines, and you get it. Yeah, I go back to the arts, the kind of basic sort of core of us, right, as humans, and it's I see it a lot. I'm in Washington D.C. now. It's this very multicultural city, and I've been to several different countries, and it's very interesting. I feel honestly like the United States is very twisted and very far from that core of who we originally are meant to be, right? And we see that how different cultures embrace music differently and passion in their arts, right? So it's I don't know. It's been a journey, from growing up from someone who never knew of any of those things to really I feel it all around, so. Well,
and that's part of the journey of going through what you went through, and then you feel it at a vibrational level. And by the way, most, if not all, artists, musicians, poets, authors, they are inspired to do the work that they do. It's not a matter of X's and O's kind of thing. It's just as inspiration. So when you do your art, it's an inspired moment in time.
Yeah.
And I've talked to lots and lots of authors and musicians that they have no earthly idea where it came from.
Right.
It just showed up. And that's your inspiration at work.
Yeah. It's funny. Right. Whether to call it a vision or, sometimes I'm strange and I'm very good at math. So it's almost like oftentimes I felt it was like a calculation almost based on, a lot of different perspectives. Right. And then mathematically, it kind of comes down to that thing you have to do right then and there. Right. And get it out of your system. And honestly, I believe, more people are like that down deep. Right.
Yep.
Like you said, we're born freer of, with that imaginative spirit and everything. And it just gets muddled over time. So.
And I'm going to sit here and I'm going to tell you, Matt, that our country right now is going through a very tough time. And there's a lot of hate, negativity, and fear out there.
Yep.
And people like you and the work that you're doing. And by the way, I know this to be true. It is changing. People are changing. You are changing. And it's leading you into a place where you can help others at the same time, which is our primary goal and motivation. Does that make any sense at all?
Yep.
By the way, I got to ask you, did you think that you would be having this kind of conversation with me when we started this show?
Maybe a little.
Well, good, because I'm firmly convinced that this is how the universe works. and it works on your behalf for you over the course of your lifetime, so that you can also become a better father to your children and a better mate to a wife potentially, or I don't know. I don't know if you got one of them or not.
Yeah,
I don't have one of them.
Yeah,
I gave them up a long time ago.
yeah.
So, by the way, we're talking with Matt Mizerek, right?
Mizerek. All right.
Mizerek, dang it. If you know anything about me, I screw up names all the time, and I apologize.
Right.
Matt Mizerek, and I want you to go to his website, which is builtforbetterapparel.com. Don't be shocked by the front page, because he's got some garments there that he uses language a lot. But go to his and look for his book, Revelations Through Resilience, 15 life-changing 15 life-changing realizations from surviving 2 strokes at 33. I don't want you to give me all of them, but can you give me 1 or 2 of your favorite life-changing things that happened that are in the book?
It's funny, we talked about some of them already. I had a section about being products of our environments, and I relate it to almost comparing other, when you see people out in the wild, I say, they kind of fell out of their boxes. We're all in like a big warehouse sort of thing, right? I think that's just always a point to reiterate. We come from that package, that little world, right? We come out of it, and we meet these other packaged, sort of, these creations, right? And but to really realize that that's a separate, that was just a different facility in the warehouse. It's not a it's not a, but it's the same, we're the same, junk that's out in the warehouse, right? And I don't know, I think one of the sections I have is about narcissism and its enablement, which is kind of an interesting, it's like the other side of it, that it has to, it's everything has a tug and a pull, right? And everything, It goes back and forth. So that's something to really acknowledge on, for the accountability of maybe the victim or the abuse, right? Because to really realize how much you feed back into that seesaw, right? So I think that's, a good one. I don't know. So well, I honestly don't even remember what I wrote.
It's interesting that you say that, because that's part of the inspiration that you sat down and you started writing, and some of it you remember and some of it you don't. But then when you looked at it and you reread it after you wrote it, you're like, wow, that's pretty danged intelligent. I can't believe I did that.
Yeah, I know. Some stuff. No, I had a lot of fun writing it. It was enjoyable for me going.
Well, you did it. By the way, I did, because you mentioned, Matt, that you wrote it very quickly.
Yeah.
And there are authors that struggle for 18 months or longer to put a book together. It was funny because I said, when did you start writing the book? And you said, well, I wrote it in August. That's this August, the one that just passed. And now the book is out, and it's November, is early November. So, I mean, the speed with which you did that is really amazing. And so it was just, some people would say it was downloaded to you, if that makes any sense.
Possibly. It was that just like we talked about, that artistic vision notion, you have to get it out. It was the same sort of thing, whether you're writing a song or that painting. I had, it was a lot of information that was just I guess downloaded and flowing out. So I had to get it out. I spent, I remember a lot of hours in random places with a laptop, trying to just put it down and get it out there.
Well, but the interesting thing about that is, and you just said it, you felt the need that you had to write it down and you had to get it out there because that was part of your mission and why you're here.
Yeah.
So congratulations on that and everything else you're doing. When we come back, I do need to take this real quick. It's only 33 seconds, and I want you to listen to this because this is my impression of you, if I can do this. Here's another point to ponder by Positive Talk Radio. A tiny seed was buried in the dirt, covered in darkness, forgotten by the world. But within that darkness, it grew roots, then sprouted into something beautiful. The seasons of struggle you face are not endings. They're beginnings. Trust that growth is happening, even when you cannot see it. You're listening to Positive Talk Radio, where stories of hope live. Oh, I got you smiling again. Does that make sense to you, sir?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. It's funny the voice is like, it sounds comedic and it's funny, but it's attention grabbing and it, it makes sense. It's perfect sense, right? So, yeah.
So tell me, you're now at the tender age of 41. What are you going to do with yourself now?
I don't know. I don't know. That's the interesting part. I let it come to me. I do what I have my sights on, keep doing this. I love designing. I love meeting new people and just, I just keep doing it and then see what comes up my way. Right. And that's life.
And that's a measure of trust that you're on the right path, that things are going to come to you, that things are being given to you all the time. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yep.
So congratulations on that. That is how it works, quite frankly, because, when I was 42, I was going on a spiritual journey and I'd been a district sales manager and, or I was a district sales manager. And I had a friend who was going through the same thing with me. And he said to me one day, we need to do a television show to talk about all the things we're learning. And we couldn't do TV, but we could do radio. That was the beginning. That one statement by that one guy on that one day changed my entire life forever.
Yeah.
And that's how it works.
Yeah, it does. I thought of that today. I had a conversation with someone earlier and they mentioned just something that I said, hey, I'm going to, try this out. Right. And that's how life works. It's and that's the point of getting out of that bubble you're in, right? That comfort zone, right? Because I feel it. I know it. We're all connected in certain ways and it's allowing that to happen. Right. And not being afraid of it. That's, that's the ticket.
And that is a huge learning curve that you've then now you're living your life and you're trusting that what's coming next for you. And regardless of whether it is, because sometimes not bad things, but less than good things happen. But it's all, if you understand that everything is happening for you instead of to you, it works better.
Yeah, that's a definitely good mindset to have. I think at worst it's hour by hour, day by day, but really just if you're not gonna, this is your one life, this is your one 3D realm visit, right? So
that's it.
Use it.
So tell me about the clothing collection and the apparel collection that you've also creating, and you're putting out there, and you're also going to be if somebody wants to become an affiliate, they can do that. Tell me all about that, how that began, because that just started this year too.
Yeah. That started in April. Yeah, end of April. So realistically, I wanted to spread this story also, not just in my confines of, my proximity of where I could travel to, and right. For like, boots on the ground, sort of helping, galleries in the nonprofit sort of area. So yeah, I started that brand. It Built for Better Apparel, and the logo has a heart with the DNA kind of strand in it, because going back to the point that we're all the same underneath. I have friends from all different countries and races and beliefs, and coming from the background I had, in the violence I was in Brooklyn, and more racist sort of roots and everything. That's the core of the brand, really, because I don't, and then having the kind of outer body experience just reminded me that we don't. We're more on this vibrational level, that surface sort of facade. That's some of it is that 3D realm that we couldn't help, right? And part of it too is I've been stereotyped so many times in my life for having tons of tattoos, and that sort of thing too. When in all honesty, I could have been a doctor. I could have done so many different things, right?
Yeah.
And it's funny how people look at people and they just judge them instantly for what almost I believe it's their own fear projected of what that person can or can't do, right? So
Do you realize how astute a statement that was that you just said?
yeah, I know. It's 100% true.
And I have really enjoyed talking to you, Matt, and
Thank
I've enjoyed this conversation immensely. And if somebody wants to get a hold of you, how's the best way for somebody to get a hold of you? Maybe become an affiliate and sell your clothing line.
Yeah. Reach out on the website. There's some contact forms. The affiliates. Right now, all affiliates will get 20% of what they sell, right? So I'm trying to help people out there. If they have any sort of influence online or even in person, I offer QR codes and like templates, right? To print out. People can put them in their stores, wherever, right? Because I know there's from also being on the streets, and then in kind of regular normal living situations, they're very different worlds, and how you can live and survive and sell things and everything. And I just try to make it work, right? Boutiques, anything, right? I'm open to it. And also artwork, I call for artists. Hey, you got a slogan, you want to put on a shirt or whatever, something that relates. You're a survivor. I'm open to talk to anybody and partner with anybody. Right now, I'm working on some designs for some nonprofits, and partnerships coming up that's going to be released soon. So, it's all good, all inclusive. That's the name of the game, right? So.
And Matt, I got to tell you, are you familiar with a guy by the name of Neil Donald Walsh?
No.
I highly suggest his books, one of which is called Conversations with God. It was on the New York Times bestseller list for 250 weeks, and which is significant. And in that book, he has this conversation with God, and God says, we are all one. And I read that, and it was like, if we all recognize that we're all connected, that we're all part of the same human family, and that we all are together, it would change the world.
It would.
Because nobody needs to hate. Nobody hates yourself. You don't need to hate yourself. And if everybody else is you, and you're all one, then there's nobody to hate. There's no other. There's no other person. We're all together. And I know you know that to be true.
Yes, 100%. The hardest part is still escaping, to me, that bubbled, environment as youth, right? I see it everywhere. I walked by some kids earlier today in the city, and how they were joking and saying, "Oh, that guy won't lay hands on your girl," or all this stuff, right? And like we all did, right? Acting very possessive, about things that it could almost worried that something's going to escape you, right? But as all those songwriters say and everything, let it go, all that stuff, right? It's all true. And then it's going to bounce into your way eventually, right? So
and I'm going to leave you with this: the gospel according to Paul McCartney, let it be.
Yeah.
From the Beatles. Thank you so much, Matt, for being here. Go to his website, which is called buildforbetterapparel.com.
Yep.
And get the book Revelations Through Resilience. Young man, it's been my pleasure to have you on the show. You are awesome.
Thank you, Kevin. It was my pleasure being here. Thank you for inviting me.
You betcha. Well, you got to come back. All right. My co-host Rochelle, she's gonna love you.
All right. Awesome.
So have a great day. I'm glad, and have a great day, and we'll close out the show now. Thank you for being part of Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald, where stories inspire and voices remind us of what truly matters. May today's conversation give you hope, courage, and a reason to keep moving forward. And just remember, till next time, be kind to one another, because each other's all we've got.